any questions, because I'm going to go through the article and I'm probably going to wind up reading it. I believe it's Variety. Although I don't know. Here we go. Updated 2 hours ago. You ready? Gollum will officially return to the big screen for Christmas 2027. Warner Brothers has announced that Andy Serkis's The Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum will open into theaters December 17th. Yes, this is real. This is 100% real. I hope you guys are looking forward to this. The studio also announced a bunch of other things. The release date is hardly a surprise given that all 6 movies of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings and Hobbit film trilogies opened in December ahead of the Christmas holiday. Each trilogy powered to $2.9 billion at the box office worldwide. That is an insane number. Warner Brothers first announced The Hunt for Gollum last summer and said it would be ready for theaters in 2026, but the film has been delayed a year. Serkis is directing the tentpole and once again starring in the title role. So Andy Serkis is going to be Gollum, and I'm very excited. You're not shocked it's happening? Feels like a money grab? It might be, but they did delay it a year to give them more time. Alex, if you have a question, please just feel free to ask. I'm going to be reading this. I'm going to be reading the chat every so often. So feel free to put it down there. I do hope it's good too. So here's what I will say: the the Hunt for Gollum feels like it's going to be very different from the War of the Rohirrim approach, which is really not at all. Give us Thranduil. He might be in this one. Thranduil could very, very easily be in the Hunt for Gollum because Aragorn takes Mirkwood, or Aragorn takes Gollum to Mirkwood. That's where he sort of like stops and like leaves him if he gets him. Which I don't know what this movie is going to be. I don't know. It's curious. Hello, Luke. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. We got a new announcement. Hunt for Gollum set for December 2027, which I'm okay with. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I am very glad they are taking their time. I think there is a very real there's a very real way to like mess this up, and that just involves making this too fast, like a cash grab. What would be cool is if we could see Lee Pace again. I really think you guys made me cry with how much with the last Fellowship episode. Oh, with Unpredicted Party? Happy to help. 11-year-old Grace wants to see this, so you're hopeful. Well, Grace, I hope you get what you want. Is there religion in Middle-earth? No, they know the gods exist. I would have concerns if it was December 2025. Yeah, if it were coming out this year, no chance. I think it would just be a cash grab. But they're taking their time. It's, we've got the possibility of Lee Pace coming back, which is very exciting. And look, as much as I'm sure people would want to see Viggo Mortensen come back, I don't think we're going to get it, and I don't necessarily think that's the best idea. Let them take their time, let them find, an Aragorn actor. The thing is, I don't know what this is going to be about, and this is so interesting because that's awesome, Monday, thank you. I feel like the Hunt for Gollum is such an interesting choice to make. Like, it's very clearly within, like, we could bring back Lee Pace. I don't want them to de-age Viggo. As much as I like Viggo Mortensen, I think he's an incredibly talented actor, very skilled at his craft, and has done a lot post Lord of the Rings. I don't think de-aging Viggo Mortensen is the way to do this. I think you find a young Aragorn. And then maybe we get some Aragorn backstory. Who even knows? We'll see. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. But having Lee Pace back, I think, might be a good thing. Lee Pace could very easily hop in as Thranduil for, like, maybe a quick little cameo. I don't think so. But I hope we find a younger actor. I hope that actor does really well. But December 17th, yeah, we've finally got our date. We've got our date. It's so weird watching this whole Lord of the Rings thing unfold the way I am. By the way, we have 72 viewers, and as Don Marshall 72, I appreciate the number of you that are here. If you're interested in helping support me, and you've heard about it before, I'm doing a movie marathon over on my Patreon, so go check that out if you feel so inclined. Supporting me means the world. Back to the news. December 2027, we have a release date for The Hunt for Gollum. This is according to a Variety article by Zach Scharf. Feel free to ask your questions. I know very little other than the release date is December 17th, so they're definitely whole like holiday vibe, which I think is a good idea. I think a December Lord of the Rings movie makes sense. I hope they do more behind the scenes stuff. I think that'll be really great. Date on the movie marathon. We're gonna probably start the third week in June, the second or third week in June. So just keep your June weekends open. We'll see what it's gonna be. But thank you all for hanging out here. Much appreciated. I'm Don. If you don't know, I talk about Lord of the Rings content. And this is just a nice little live I'm hopping into just to let you know before the news breaks. Also, if you can, please go watch my most recent video. It really helps me get to the For You page. It's super helpful, and it's a huge weight off my back to just know that everybody here is helping contribute to the content. Extended editions marathon? Yes, that's what we're doing over on Patreon. So if you're interested in well, it's not just the extended editions. It's also the Hobbit extended trilogy, War of the Rohirrim, the Rankin Bass, Ralph Bakshi, all of that stuff. I'm basically doing everything. My goal is to just do as much as I possibly can in the time that I have. So go check out my Patreon if you really want. Actually, we're gonna post that on here. We're not doing a lightning Q&A. That's not even remotely close. Also, if you have any questions about what's going to be happening in the movie, let me know. I'm happy to answer specifics. Movie marathon on Patreon. Boom. So follow me on Patreon. It's right above my head. And blog time. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Grayson, hello. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. And I see we've got a few folks over on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you all for hanging out. Very excited. We finally have a release date. What is the timeline for this movie marathon? About 6 months. Your content is why you stay on TikTok, love? Thank you. Thank you. Will it be heavily elf-centric? You know what? I don't think it will be heavily elf-centric, but there is a chance we do see Lee Pace or Legolas show up. The thing, while actors are alive and they want to have cameos, you could theoretically do like The Hunt for Gollum, but make it Aragorn and Legolas. Or Aragorn and Gandalf, but I don't know. The timeline portion is The Hunt for Gollum technically takes place between the 17 years between when Bilbo disappears and when Frodo leaves. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that or how they're gonna do it, but like timeline-wise, it lines up with the original trilogy. As long as they don't do Aragorn and Tauriel. No, I don't think they're going to do Aragorn and Tauriel. If anything, they would bring back Tauriel, Aragorn, and Legolas with Lee Pace. Will we see the return of Viggo? Hot take? I hope not. As much as I admire and respect Viggo Mortensen, I think I want to give someone else a chance to be Aragorn. Let's let someone maybe a little bit more younger, more physically capable. Not that Viggo's not capable, right? I mean, no insult to the man. He is a living legend. But let's see the Peter Jackson trilogy for what it is, which is wonderful, and move beyond that. I think that's really important. But I am very eager to see if there's going to be any casting. They're probably still working on a script if they haven't finished it. I have not heard any news or rumors, but any Rings of Power Series 3 news. As far as I know, filming starts very soon. If it's not within this week, it's probably within the next 2 weeks, I believe. But unclear on how that's going to work out. But we'll see how it goes. Sir Ian. Will we see Sir Ian? If we do, it will likely be a cameo. Gandalf does take the... Actually, why don't I make a video out of this? We can do that. So I'll work on it and just sort of within this video create the video. So, okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining for the live. Here are my thoughts on The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, which is going to be coming out December 17th, 2027. So we've got a year and a half. Here's everything you need to know. We do not know any of the casting yet. The casting, I think, is going to be one of the more divisive things, because we could potentially see a lot of people coming back for this movie. We could see Viggo Mortensen, Ian McKellen, Orlando Bloom, Lee Pace as Thranduil, and even Evangeline Lilly as Tauriel. These are all people that, within the story of The Hunt for Gollum, could potentially show up. Now, will they? I'm not sure, and will they be the actors that we have known for the last 10 or 15 years? Again, unclear. Personally, I hope they recast people. As much as I admire those actors, I think they did a remarkable job with what they were given in both trilogies. I'm ready for something new. I truly think that there is a really good way to do this with an entirely new cast, or with just a newer cast with a mostly new cast, and something that sort of does a respect to, like an homage almost. Let's have an Ian McKellen cameo, let's have a Lee Pace cameo, give me all of that, but in little snippets, right? I don't necessarily need to be uncanny valleyed. I definitely don't want them to de-age Viggo Mortensen. As much as I admire and respect the man as an actor, I think his range beyond Aragorn is absolutely incredible. He's a great actor. He needs a little. He needs Aragorn himself. I think needs to be a younger, fitter version of himself. Will we see Tom Bombadil? That is entirely possible. By the way, feel free to ask your questions here in the chat. I am happy to provide a little bit more context. Is it Smeagol in the kitchen? Yes, Smeagol is in the kitchen. You thought I was Lin-Manuel Miranda? He's my grandmother, actually. Have I seen Andor? I have only seen up to episode 6. I have not watched 7, 8, or 9. I'm taking my time with this one. But yeah, so, yes, I really do hope that they do not de-age Viggo Mortensen or Ian McKellen or Lee Pace or Orlando Bloom or Evangeline Lilly, as cool as it would be to be able to capture that same magic of the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Hobbit trilogy in 2025. I do not think that is the direction that they need to take. I want this movie to be as successful as possible. I love the Lord of the Rings. It is very near and dear to my heart. Please don't shoehorn this in. I don't feel the need to have endless amounts of cameos. I'm fine with a recasting, personally. As cool as it would be to see Old Man Aragorn, I think you could do it in a very clever way, though. I feel like you could do an older Aragorn telling the tale to his kids about how he found the creature Gollum as a sort of side tale. And again, it's been 20 years, so like you have to, at what point can you justify de-aging Viggo Mortensen? Can Viggo be telling the story to his kids? Vlander, I literally just said the same thing. I want that to be the case, just like I wanted it to be the case in War of the Rohirrim. I think there's a really easy way to do this, and that is to make sure that the original cast either has cameos or is in the film in such a way that you can like say a lot of time has passed and now we are telling a tale. Is Peter Jackson directing? No, Andy Serkis is directing and he is starring. So he is going to be Gollum. It sounds like he is going to be doing the mocap. And look, I love Andy Serkis. That man is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to acting and physicality. I'm sure he still has it. I am curious to see how they are going to CGI Gollum again. I think they did a great job in the Hobbit trilogy. That scene where they did the riddles in the dark was very well done. But this is going to be a challenge, for sure. I think this is going to be a very interesting challenge. Milla asked the question, when is the story set? So the story itself is going to be set in the time between the Lord of the Rings trilogy, when Bilbo disappears, and when Frodo decides to leave the Shire. Now, in the books, that takes over the course of 17 years. There's literally a 17-year time skip in the books. That doesn't happen in the movies. It's very clear that it's supposed to be, okay, he's there, he discovers this news, he comes back again. It's meant to compress the timeline, similar to how the Rings of Power are doing it, probably a little less. Zoe, hello, welcome back to the stream. It's been a while. I'm currently live on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. TikTok, my camera is here. Twitch and YouTube, my cameras are right here. Thank you all so much for joining us for this very spur-of-the-moment live. I got the news earlier today that we would likely be getting a release date, and so I kind of prepped for this. I appreciate you all hanging out. We are going to be live today, just talking about the Lord of the Rings. I think Andy Serkis is actual Lord of the Rings fan, unlike Amazon. You know what? I give Amazon a lot of credit for trying to do what they do. By the way, if anybody here is a mutual of mine and wants to hang out, please let me know. I am happy to do a double live. Could we do a Princess Bride route for Aragorn? That's what I'm thinking. You solve the Viggo Mortensen issue with a little bit of a cameo. Now look, is it going to be really hard to picture anybody other than Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn? Probably. I think for a lot of people it'd be like replacing Luke Skywalker. However, I think if they were to de-age him, it would be a problem. And hear me out. Hear me out. Here's a hot take. I really like the Solo movie. I think the young Han Solo movie was great. I thought it was a romping good time, and I hope that that is what they take to heart in this story. I hope we see a younger Aragorn chasing after Gollum, maybe getting a little bit of backstory for like when he was in Rohan. But like, give me a young Aragorn, right? Let someone else take the mantle. Let Viggo Mortensen like literally train this guy. I hope it. Fingers crossed, chat. And by the way, please feel free to leave your questions in the chat or your thoughts. I'm very curious to see what people think of this. This movie has been kind of hush hush. There's not a lot of details being released. I'm sure they're waiting to announce things as they happen, but we don't have a lot of information. And I think if we're able to get some of that information, it helps build up a little bit of the hype. But we'll see what happens. I don't want to jump on the hype train just yet. This movie could be bad, right? Don't get me wrong. I have enjoyed the Lord of the Rings stuff that has come out. But, you know, if we're going to compare it to the Ultimate Trilogy and get the band back together, that is the Peter Jackson trilogy, I think that's going to be really tough. Do the movie as a flashback where older Viggo tells the story. Logan, someone else in chat literally just said that about 2 minutes ago. Would Saruman show up in this? Theoretically, yes. But because Christopher Lee has passed, and, oh God. See, this is the trouble. This is the trouble we have when we're doing, hi Lehman Industries, welcome to the stream. So here's the thing. When you are having a Lord of the Rings movie, there's going to be a lot of love for it, right? It's like Star Wars. But in this case, we're telling a story that is almost closer to a Rogue One type story versus a second trilogy in Star Wars. This particular story is going to be a pretty big deal, but it's not necessarily going to be the biggest deal, right? This is a chance for people to get reacquainted with the Lord of the Rings. This is a chance for people to rewatch the movies, but it is going to be very different, right? It's going to be when did the first movie come out? Was it 2020 or was it 2001? LOTR, Fellowship of the Ring release date. Yeah, December 2001. So it's going to be, when this movie comes out, it's going to be 26 years since the old movie came out. And not that I don't think we could do something fun with all of this. I think there's an easier way to do it rather than shoehorning in a bunch of cameos. Not that I wouldn't want that, right? Like, it would be very cool to see Ian McKellen again. It would be very cool to see Viggo Mortensen pop in, or Orlando Bloom, or any number of these people. I don't necessarily know if that is the right decision to make. We've got the 25th anniversary next year. You have the chance to really bring the community together, to get people excited about the Lord of the Rings. Let's do that. Let's hop on this bandwagon that, honestly, has kind of been revitalized for Rings of Power in my mind, right? We have this story. We're trying to tell it. We've got the demand for it is certainly there, and I think Warner Brothers is absolutely doing the right thing and capitalizing on this. Now, everyone knows I'm not Warner Brothers' biggest fans in terms of like multi-billion-dollar corporations controlling my country. That's how we got to this fascist regime. However, I think if they let Peter Jackson do what they do, not that I'm saying that Warner Brothers is directly tied to the, no, like, let's be clear. That's not what I'm doing. However, I think there is something to be excited about here. You had a heart attack seeing Shyamalan and Lord of the Rings in one sentence. No, these are two different movies. Although an M. Night Shyamalan movie that is also a Lord of the Rings movie would be an interesting take. I don't necessarily know if I want that movie being made, though, but it is fun. Hosier should play young Aragorn. Yes, let's do this. Everybody in the chat, whether you're on Twitch or whether you're on YouTube, tell me who you want as young Aragorn. If it's old, what about Arwen? Now look, I want to be very clear when I say this. Liv Tyler doesn't age. I'm not sure why, I'm not sure how, but she can come back and do any movie she wants, at any time she wants, because the woman does not age. Also, she's an elf. She has more of a reason to be there than any of the human characters. Orlando Bloom could potentially do the same. I'm not necessarily sure if either of them would. If we're doing straight up the hunt for Gollum, there's not going to be a lot of people that they meet. I'm sorry, technically Arwen does age, Liam. I just gotta let you know, Arwen ages and dies. That is spoilers. But that's what happens. Oh man, this is wild. I didn't think I'd be doing this again. She chose mortality. She did. This movie, though, is going to be taking place before, well, yeah, probably I think before she chooses mortality. So she could still be, very young, no wrinkles kind of elf. We'll see what happens. This is going to be an interesting take. I'll probably be live again tonight, by the way, for those of you that are not able to stay. Her and Alicia Silverstone. Honestly, I'm not sure what those two women do as far as their skincare routine goes, but if they could share all of their secrets, I would be very grateful. Please also, by the way, if you're here in chat, whether you're on YouTube and Twitch or over here on TikTok, please let me know if you've got any questions about what happens during the story or points that you want to make. I'm very curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this. This is going to be interesting. The unknown is scary, but it's exciting at the same time. It is, isn't it? Because, we don't really expect there to be too much from The Lord of the Rings, is there? Tears of the Shire game release. Yes, I believe we got that on July... Is it 29th? Hang on, let me look. Yes, July 29th is when Tales of the Shire gets released. Y'all, by the way, thank you for being here. If you're new or you're just joining, my name is Don Marshall. I talk about Lord of the Rings content. If you like Lord of the Rings content and you want to know more about it, especially this new movie that we got with the news coming out about the Hunt for Gollum new movie, please feel free to give me a follow. And for those of you that are here, it would really mean the world to me if you could go follow me on my Patreon. There is a free option for you to choose. And let me tell you, the Patreon has been a lifesaver. It's literally paying my rent, and I am incredibly grateful to anybody that joins. I just want to take 2 seconds to just say over the course of the next 6 months, we're going to be having a Lord of the Rings movie marathon over there for all of the members. Please feel free to drop by, and if you want to be part of the Lord of the Rings community, if you want to join here, if you want to embrace this Lord of the Rings community that has had sort of this incredible renaissance, please go check me out over on patreon.com/DonMarshall72. We are having a Lord of the Rings marathon over the course of the next 6 months. Everybody's going to be in chat, and we're all going to be talking Lord of the Rings, and it would mean the world to me if you were all there. This is all I want to do with my life, is talk about Lord of the Rings and hang out with all of you guys, and for the last 5 years I have been able to do that, and it would mean the world to me if you could go join over on Patreon. That is how I am able to keep doing what I am doing. All of my projects are funded over on Patreon. That is how I pay my rent. That is how I pay my bills. That's how I fund every project that I do, one after another for the last 5 years. And let me tell you, I am so incredibly grateful to this community. Okay, shameless plug over. Thank you to those of you that are joining over on Patreon right now or are about to go. Bard of Arda is here, one of my mutuals. Thank you so much for hanging out, man. Appreciate you. Also, hang on, I saw another one. Jubilee Titan of Joy, my Warhammer compatriot. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. We have a new Lord of the Rings movie, and I am so excited. Thank you all for being here. Where in Middle-earth will this movie take place? Wander, that is a great question. So, we get a little bit of the description of this story in the Council of Elrond chapter of the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring. Essentially what that does is that... oh, thank you for the gift, Bars. Very kind of you. So this story takes place in the time between the Lord of the Rings, when Bilbo's birthday, in the Fellowship of the Ring, when Bilbo disappears, and when Frodo leaves the Shire. Now, in the books, that is a 17-year time gap. However, in the movie, it's not. Hey, Moons, welcome to the stream. So they're probably going to do a kind of compressed timeline here. We have the chance for a lot. Kim, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. She's talking about Patreon, for those of you that are unaware. My Patreon is... We'll talk about Patreon later. So there's a 17-year time jump between when Bilbo leaves and when Frodo leaves the Shire. We are probably going to have that movie take place within that 17 years, although I don't think they will give it sort of like a how much time has passed. There is... Casey, hello! Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. There is a definite... Not a definite. There is a possibility we are going to see a young Aragorn. And I'm very excited for that. Personally, I hope they go the route of Solo. I very much want this to be a fun adventure movie. I don't necessarily need to see Viggo Mortensen. He's probably in his 60s right now. And I'm not saying he couldn't do the role again. However, I think... Hey, McMullen just joined over on the Patreon. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. By the way, for those that join the Patreon, you do get a shout out here on the live stream. If you tell me that you have just joined, please let me know. I want to be able to thank you in person. He wouldn't be young, that's for sure. Sleeping Beauty, you are absolutely right. He would not be a young version of Aragorn, but I hope they don't de-age him. Not that Viggo Mortensen couldn't do it, but I feel like we could potentially get another young actor, not necessarily like I need someone, you know what? Hear me out. Hear me out. Austin Butler. I think Austin Butler could potentially do it. He's got the physicality. He's got he's certainly got the musculature. And I don't necessarily need to have someone that looks like Viggo Mortensen. I would much rather have the sort of gritty Ranger take on it. Give me a young Aragorn story. Not if he does the Elvis voice, though. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Also, huge thanks, by the way, to A. McMullen, who has just joined the Patreon. We are currently at 1,207 active members. Y'all, thank you so much. This has been an absolute joy. Could we see Ian McKellen? Yes, I am okay with Ian McKellen coming back. And here's why. Elderly wizard, once you have the sort of like the wrinkles and the nose and the hair to hide a lot of the makeup or the age, I think that's totally fine. I think you are okay to bring back Ian McKellen. Now, I do want to make note, there is already a movie called The Hunt for Gollum. The Hunt for Gollum is a fan-made movie, and actually we're going to watch it during the Patreon excuse me, the Patreon marathon. That's going to be one of the things that we bring up when we watch it. So, by the way, thank you for the follow, Hayes. If you're new here, hi, my name is Don. I am known as the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy. I talk about Lord of the Rings here on TikTok. Henry Cavill for Aragorn. Now, as cool as that would be to see, I don't necessarily think you need star power for this sort of thing. Henry Cavill and Viggo Mortensen are, I would say, on the same caliber of level. But I think Henry Cavill's going to be busy with stuff. Is the Patreon marathon for all Patreon levels? Yes. When is your movie marathon? We're going to be starting mid-June. I want to say the second or third week in June. I'm going to let you all know as this happens. Just subscribed. Mars, thank you so much for subscribing to the Patreon. Appreciate that. We are now at 1,208. Oh, yep, 12. Oh, no, Mars, you were my 1,207th. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Jon Snow for Aragorn. Now, see, I would love that. I think Kit Harington would do a really great job. But again, and hear me out, I think a completely unknown actor could potentially do this. I don't necessarily need someone famous, right? You're going to be going toe-to-toe with Ian McKellen, potentially Lee Pace. There's a lot of people that could come back for this movie, but I want a younger version of Aragorn. I think that they are going to do themselves a disservice if they try and cast anyone slightly older or slightly that, even resembling Viggo. Like, yeah, give him the hair, give him the scars, but I think I want them to do a younger version. Kit Harington could be very good for it. Is it going to be live action or animated? As far as I'm aware, this is going to be live action. Andy Serkis is directing and starring as Gollum. So here's what I think though. I don't think they're going to go animated route. They already tried that. It didn't work. As much as I love The War of the Rohirrim, I think it is an absolutely marvelous movie. Mars, I just got the notification. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. 1,207 members over on Patreon. Thank you all for joining. If you're new here, we're doing the movie marathon over on Patreon starting next month. I hope y'all are going to be there. It has meant the world to me to be able to do this over on Patreon. And I'm very excited for the new stuff that's coming around. I don't necessarily know. Doesn't want star power calls for Austin Butler. No, hear me out. If they are going to go with star power, if they are going to say, let's cast someone slightly well-known as a younger version of Aragorn, give me a Kit Harington, give me an Austin Butler, give me someone young, someone more muscular. Someone mentioned Henry Cavill. I don't necessarily hate that option. But if you're not going to go for star power, give me someone slightly unknown. Let someone new take the reins, just like Daisy Ridley did with Star Wars, just like John Boyega. Oscar Isaac had already previously been in a few things. But in terms of getting the lead for something like that, yeah, give me someone new. I'm totally down for that. In the same way that I was hesitant for them to cast anybody. Hey, JD, thank you so much for joining the Patreon. We are now at 1,208 members. Y'all, much love. We've had 3 new patrons join just in the last few minutes. Just in the last 5 minutes, actually. Oh my goodness, thank you. Maybe one of the Scars Guards? I could see one of the Scars Guards doing this. There's definitely a physicality to the role of Aragorn. Amanda, hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, by the way, hi, my name is Don. I am known as the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy. We are talking about The Hunt for Gollum, which is the new Lord of the Rings movie set for release in December of 2027. The release date is December 17th. Now, whether or not that's going to be pushed back, who knows? But at the last I knew, there wasn't a script. So, at least for now, I'm thinking there's going to be a script. I'm thinking there's going to be casting. They've probably... What's the twist going to be? Now, here's the thing. Excuse me. I don't think you need a twist. I don't think you need a twist for The Hunt for Gollum. The twist doesn't necessarily exist. This is a bit... Oh, Richard Madden. There's a thought. A Richard Madden for young Aragorn. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I actually... Ooh, who suggested that? Who suggested that? I want to call you out. Kim? Kim, I like that idea. Richard Madden. We know he's got the chops for it because of Robb Stark. Yeah. Okay. I'm down. I'm down for it. I will absolutely be down for it. Jedi Evans, you agree? Thank you so much. You can see Richard Madden, Pup Grayson. The movie will end with Gollum being captured by orcs. So not necessarily. The movie can end in a number of places. The movie, The Hunt for Gollum, takes place over the course of many months, and it's Aragorn and Gandalf for a time, and then Gandalf leaves, he forsakes the chase, and Aragorn goes off on his own to try and discover it. And as much as I want there to be... Sorry, Layman makes an interesting point. Just cast Viggo Mortensen and don't de-age him or anything. Just put him in costume, don't mention it at all. They could very well do that. I don't necessarily think they will, because that's not how movies work, but wouldn't that be interesting if they did? So here's my thing. I'm all for... Gimli cameo? Probably not. The only people I could potentially see as having a cameo is going to be... They're trying to make their Solo, but they, if anything, should make it their Rogue One. That's what I'm saying, right? That is 100% what I'm saying. I don't think there's a twist. I think this is just going to be the adventure that eventually gets Gollum to where he needs to be. Put some tape on his face. Oh yeah? And just kind of like, hi, I'm a de-aged Viggo Mortensen. That was a mistake. Someone's going to screenshot that. Oops. How old was Viggo in The Hunt for Gollum? He's not young. Well, no, he's not. But that's the thing. When you bring the Peter Jackson crew back, when you've got Andy Serkis together with Peter Jackson, again, a lot of people are going to have that in mind, right? They're going to be wondering, do you bring Viggo Mortensen back? Do you bring Ian McKellen back? That doesn't necessarily happen like it didn't with Rings of Power, right? They were doing completely new castings. They did it with Mark Hamill. They did do it with Mark Hamill for one scene. And I don't necessarily know if that worked. I liked seeing a young Luke Skywalker. I thought that was very cool. I thought the technology was cool, and then they got permission to do it, and it was cool. I don't know if that works for a whole movie. It works for a Krennic scene in Rogue One. It works for the Luke Skywalker thing in Rise of Skywalker. I don't necessarily know if that works for everything. It would be a little bit too uncanny. Yeah, exactly. Jonesy makes a good point. It would be a little bit too uncanny valley. Do I imagine an older Viggo as king reflecting back on his time? That is what I think they should do. I think The Hunt for Gollum should be a Princess Bride style, so we can get the Viggo Mortensen cameo of him telling his kids the story of The Lord of the Rings. We can see Minas Tirith again. We could see Arwen again. We could potentially see Gandalf again. We could see Gandalf come in for this for quite a while. There's a lot to do with it. How can they even make a movie out of it? Isn't it like 3 pages total? So Ezio, technically this is a backstory or a side story, very similar to like a Rogue One or a Solo. They should have just kept it like War of the Rohirrim. I don't necessarily know if they learned the lesson from War of the Rohirrim. I liked War of the... Go lay down. I like War of the Rohirrim, but I don't think it made enough money for them to justify anything on it. Rogue One was so good. I really liked Rogue One. I think they did a great job with it, and I think they can learn... Martin Sennheiser? I do not know who that is, but let me Google it real quick. Oh! Wow, he's certainly got the cheekbones for it, my goodness. That would be interesting. This is probably going to be another gimmick-filled CGI fest like the Hobbit movies. Well, no, because it's not Peter Jackson. That's the thing. Andy Serkis is directing. Peter Jackson might be involved, but if it's an executive production thing, I think they leave that more to, well, maybe not necessarily the EPs, but Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars projects ever. I happen to agree with you, Floyd. Ian McKellen said that they need to hurry up since he knows he doesn't have much time left. I don't necessarily think we even need an Ian McKellen cameo. As much as it would be cool to see all of that happen, I don't necessarily think we need it. Are there going to be more Gimli-like dwarves? Because that and Gandalf is all I need. I don't think we're going to see dwarves in this story. If we do, I think it's going to be a little bit different than what actually happens in the story, which is not a lot, right? They're basically writing their own story, which at this point, I'm okay with. If they're not going to do something that is straight out of the books and like do honor to the story, give me like a couple of paragraphs of story and then flesh that out. We'll see. Will we see Elrond? Yes, Hugo Weaving could 100% be making a cameo in this. Sebastian Stan as a young Aragorn. As much as I like Sebastian Stan, well, hang on. Let me think about this for more than 2 seconds. My initial thought is maybe, maybe not. But personally, I want someone unknown. When do you think we'll get cast confirmation? I don't think we'll have a cast for another year. I don't think they'll announce the cast for at least another 6 months, probably 6 months to a year. I'd give it 6 months to a year to say, because what they're probably doing is they have a December 17th release date. They will probably spend a couple of months in casting, a couple of months in shooting, a couple of months in post, but we will see. I mean, it's going to be very curious to see how this is going to go. Whether or not that... Ooh, Ko-Fi. Hey, thank you so much for donating on Ko-Fi, folks. Very kind of you to do. Thank you. By the way, for those of you that are new here, hi, I'm Don. I'm just going to do a quick mention because there's a lot of you here and I don't want to lose this opportunity. Hi, my name is Don. I'm known as the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy. If you are new here, I talk about Lord of the Rings, and there's a new Lord of the Rings movie coming out in 2 years. If you are interested in getting updates, please feel free to drop me a follow. If you have been here for long enough and you like my content, Alex, thank you for the donation. Holy crap, that is so much money. Holy Lord, thank you so much. Someone just donated. A. McMullen. So I was literally in the middle of a pitch. I was literally pitching myself. A. McMullen, thank you so much for the $125 donation on stream. Holy shit. Okay, sorry, I try not to swear on this too much. Actually, why don't we go live on Patreon right now? Let's go live on Patreon. We can do that too. Check the news, new pope. Yeah, I heard we had a new pope. Okay, so I'm now live on 4 different platforms. So for those of you that maybe just saw that happen in real time, thank you to A. McMullen for donating $125 to the stream on Ko-Fi. If you're not able to donate $125, you can join me over on Patreon. There is a free option. There's a $2, $5, $11, and $20 options. If you like my content and you are looking for a safe space for queer people, for neurodivergent people, for nerd spaces, for women, for people that just want to feel like they belong because there's a bunch of angry straight white men out there and fascists running the country, I would like to think that my channel can be a safe space for you. We are going to be having a Lord of the Rings movie marathon over the course of the next 6 months where we watch all of the Lord of the Rings movies, but it's only going to be on Patreon. If you are interested in watching that with me over the course of the next 6 months, please go support me on Patreon. You can do so for free, or you can join for the price of $21 a year. You can join this community. If you can't afford $21 for the full year, you can join me for $2 a month. Every tier is a pay what you can. I'm a communist that way. The $2 tier gets the same as the $5 tier, gets the same as the $11 tier. If you can only support me in whatever way you need to, thank you for doing so. We've had a few people join already. I'm also currently live on Patreon right now. I'm also live on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. And thank you all so much for being here. It means the world to me to have all of you guys over here. I'm on 3 different cameras. And days like today are what I live for. I love the Lord of the Rings community. And I just need to interrupt my spiel with a huge thank you to William, who just joined the Patreon for a full year. William, thank you so much. If you're here in chat, please let me know that you're here. I want to give you a very special thank you in person. Thank you, my friend. It means the world. Patrons that are here, thank you for joining the live stream. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Thank you for being here for the last 5 years. We've got another person, Blue JVA. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. We've had 6 new members join in literally the last 10 minutes, and someone just donated $125 to the Ko-Fi. Y'all, thank you for being here. I don't do this every so often. Sorry, I don't do this a lot, but every so often Lord of the Rings news comes out and we all get together and have a grand old time, and this is all I want to do. For the rest of my life, if I could do nothing but talk about the Lord of the Rings and hang out with you guys, it would mean the absolute world to me. And the Patreon is the only way I'm able to do that. No joke, this is how I pay my rent. This is how I fund the projects that I do day after day after day. And if you like my content and you want to help me continue to do what I do, please consider joining over on Patreon. It would mean the world to me because this is just what I love doing. And I'm very grateful to Warner Brothers and to Amazon and to the fans that are making the Lord of the Rings content that has kept this community going over the course of the last 20 years, right? I've only been doing this for 5, right? But the Lord of the Rings is about to have their 25th anniversary. It's gonna be insane, and I'm just so grateful for all of you being here. And the fact that we're getting new movies and the Lord of the Rings fandom has not died out, I'm so grateful for that. And I know I'm going on a tangent. I will stop and answer your questions in just a minute, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you. This is so exciting to be able to get to do. I don't get to do it every day, but I live for days like this. These are the important days when I can hop on the stream and talk to this camera and this camera and this camera and just, oh man, it's what I live for. And I'm really thankful that you all have joined me, whether you've been here for the last almost 5 years, or if you just decided to join today. And if you're just joining us today, thank you so much for being here. It means the world to have all of you here. If you haven't heard, we've got a new Lord of the Rings movie. It comes out December 17th, 2027. It's called The Hunt for Gollum, and that's what we're going to talk about. All right, my spiel is over. It's going to take place hopefully in the time between when Bilbo leaves the party and when Frodo leaves the Shire. It is hopefully going to be an Aragorn-type prequel, because that's who hunts for Gollum. We could potentially have a lot of cameos. We could have a Lord of the Rings cameo from, we could have a original trilogy cameo from Viggo Mortensen, Ian McKellen, and Orlando Bloom. We could also have Hobbit cameos from Lee Pace and Tauriel. Those are sort of the people that I think might be the folks that show up. But we've got another Lord of the Rings Christmas movie, and the fact that there are hundreds of you here across 4 different live streams, whether you're on TikTok here, YouTube or Twitch here, or Patreon here, I see every single one of you, and I am so grateful for all of you hanging out here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It literally means the world to me that we're able to do this. Please feel free to leave your questions in the chat if you want to know more about specific parts of this movie. At this point, I know as much as you do, but if you've read the article, if you want to know more and have specific questions about when this could take place or who we might be able to see, let me know. But I have not been able to do that, sort of like get new information behind the scenes stuff. They have been very tight-lipped on this, and so that's why I am so excited to be able to talk about this with all of you. And I need to give another shout out to Lindsay. Lindsay, thank you for joining over on the Patreon. Bro, December 2027, who gives a fuck? I do. I give a fuck. I'm here to say I give a fuck. And thank you to Jeremy for joining the Patreon literally a couple of seconds later. I am so excited. You haven't read the article? Could this be done in one movie, or could they make it a trilogy? Look, theoretically, they could make this a trilogy. I don't think they will. Actually, why don't I read the article to you? If you've just joined the Patreon also, I need to give a huge thanks to all of you that have just joined the Patreon over the course of the last few minutes. We are currently live on Patreon, as well as on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. That's my YouTube and Twitch camera. That's my TikTok camera right here. Hello. This is my Patreon camera. Hi, patrons. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. Here is what the article says. This is by Variety, by a writer named Zach Sharf. Gollum will officially return to the big screen for Christmas 2027. Warner Brothers has announced that Andy Serkis's The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum will open in theaters December 17th, 2027. The studio will also, they talk about the Evil Dead movie, blah, blah, blah. The release date for The Hunt for Gollum is hardly a surprise, given all 6 movies in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit trilogies opened in December ahead of the Christmas holiday. Each trilogy powered to $2.9 billion at the worldwide box office. Warner Brothers first announced The Hunt for Gollum last summer and said it would be ready for theaters in 2026. This film has been delayed a year. Serkis is directing the tentpole and once again starring in the title role, which he's been playing via motion capture since 2002's The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Serkis's directorial efforts include Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, and Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Original Lord of the Rings trilogy filmmaker Peter Jackson and his partner Fran Walsh with Philippa Boyens, whom I have had the pleasure of meeting. She is absolutely phenomenal woman. Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the new movie. Warner Brothers stressed when announcing Gollum that the trio will be involved every step of the way. Boyens told Empire magazine that The Hunt for Gollum is quite an intense story that falls after the birthday of Bilbo and before the Mines of Moria. It is a specific chunk of incredibly untold story told through the perspective of this incredible creature. So this is gonna potentially be an Andy Serkis-centric movie. We've been talking about a potential young Aragorn, but by the looks of it, we're going to be having Gollum's perspective on a decent amount of this, which I think is going to be a very interesting way to take this. But I'm excited for it. We could have a lot of cameos. We could have so many cameos. We could have Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Tauriel. Theoretically, we could have Bilbo or Frodo if we really wanted to. But look, I'm looking forward to it. I know there's a lot going on. Had to switch streams, didn't want to miss. Well, hey, McMullen, you were one of the ones that just joined over on the Patreon, McMullen. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you hanging out on stream. While we do this, I'm going to do one more shameless plug. I'm sorry, but I very rarely have 100 people to talk about this with. But I just want to say thank you all for being here. My name is Don Marshall. We just had somebody join the Patreon as I'm about to launch into the Patreon thing. Y'all, thank you for being here. My name is Don Marshall. I'm known as the Obscure Lord of the Rings Facts Guy. If you are interested in learning more about the Lord of the Rings, drop a follow over on whatever platform you feel free to do so, whether that's Twitch and YouTube, where my camera over there, or TikTok here. But if you really want to help support me, if you have followed me over the course of the last 4.5 years, if you joined at any time and you like my stuff, please go join me on Patreon. You can join for free. It doesn't take too long to set up an account, and it makes a world of difference because over on Patreon, whether it's the $2 tier, $5 tier, $11 tier, or $20 tier, we're having a movie marathon that starts in June. Over the course of the next 6 months, we are going to be watching one Lord of the Rings movie after another every few weeks, where we're going to get together, have a live stream, and just have a grand old time. If that sounds like fun, if you like the Lord of the Rings community, if you feel safe here in the Lord of the Rings community, if you're looking for a queer-friendly space, or a neurodivergent-friendly space, or you hate Donald Trump, you can be here over on Patreon for the cost of $21 a year, which is, you can pay yearly or you can pay monthly. The cheapest option, I think, is $2 a month for second breakfast, $5 for lunch, $11 for 11sies. But y'all, this is the kind of thing I want to do over and over again. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for letting me talk about the Lord of the Rings over the last 4.5 years. It has meant the world to me, and this is how I do it. Patreon is the way I pay my bills. So thank you all for being here, and feel free to leave your questions in the chat, because I am here to answer them. We have one from Lehman Industries over on Twitch. If Tom Bombadil does make a cameo, what role in the movie do you think he should have? I don't think Tom Bombadil should have a role in the movie, personally. If they are going to make him have a cameo, though, just have him drop by. We'll see Goldberry. We'll see the little foresty area that he lives in. We'll see his cottage. But he can just be a nice little aside, a nice little point of interest. As long as they don't CGI him in, never forget Orlando Bloom in The Hobbit. Now, see, I didn't necessarily mind that Orlando Bloom was in The Hobbit, because I think his absence would have been noted, but I think there's something about it. Just pan over to his cottage and do nothing. Honestly, Llama, I think that's a great idea. Pan over to it. Do we need a Tom Bombadil in The Hunt for Gollum? I don't know. And I don't know if Gollum gets... Ooh, here's a great question. Do we get sympathy out of Tom Bombadil for Gollum? Probably. We'll see how that goes, though. That'll be a very interesting thing to see. I don't know. But y'all, thank you for being here. The Hunt for Gollum. I made a video not too long ago. If you want to check that out, you want to go leave a comment on it. It's currently sitting at 1,700 views from the last 20 or 51 minutes. We've been live for an hour. My goodness, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Y'all, I appreciate you hanging out here. This has been really great. I am going to wrap up probably over the course of the next 10 or 15 minutes, but feel free, please feel free to leave your questions, your comments, your concerns. I want to know what people think about this movie. And if you haven't already, please go, hang on, please go to my most recent video and leave a comment. CGI will pull me out of the movie super quick. Kim, I agree. I think if we're going to do a Gollum-centric movie, I think we got to have little cameos. And we're going to just do whatever. Mad idea, but I think they should use RPG Maker and make a Hobbit game. That would be fun. That would be interesting. Bright blue his jacket is and his boots are yellow. That's honestly all you need from a Tom Bombadil cameo. If you can get a man, that said, Viggo hasn't aged badly. Namdi, I agree. I think Viggo Mortensen, if they could do it the right way, CGI, the right amount of makeup, not too much Uncanny Valley, I feel like they could do a lot with it. Tales of the Shire is actually July. Sorry, Amanda. It's July 29th. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. By the way, thank you to the folks that have joined over on Patreon. You guys mean the world to me. Not that anybody else does not, but I appreciate y'all hanging out over on here. This has been really great. We've got a decent number of people over on Patreon for the live stream. RPG Maker would be good. See, I don't necessarily know if they want to do something like that because the technology that existed, 20 years ago to make Gollum has evolved quite a lot. So there's a lot that could potentially happen. But we'll see. You don't know much about The Hunt for Gollum. You're very excited to learn about the new story. So The Hunt for Gollum is a story that takes place in the time between Bilbo's birthday party and when Frodo leaves the Shire. There's a little bit more there, but he catches up. You could switch to the Patreon live, but you might as well stay here. If you're already a patron, you can go wherever you want. I just like to let people know about the Patreon, because very rarely do I get 100 people in live chat. And chat, thank you all so much for being... Actually, combining all of the chats, I've got close to 120. Because the Patreon folks are here. Hi. TikTok and Twitch, or TikTok is here. YouTube and Twitch are over there. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Let's talk Lord of the Rings. From Namdi, I want the Viggo Circus hate buddy comedy. You know what? I think that would be a fun little thing that they could do. Give me a fun back and forth between Andy Serkis and maybe not Viggo Mortensen, but a young Aragorn. But looking at this movie, it looks like we're going to have more of a focus on Gollum rather than Aragorn. So it might just be that Gollum meets all of these people in different scenes and that the cameos are sort of like what happens. Question from Llamas. Do you think they will show us how much time actually passes in that time? No, I don't think so. I think what we're going to get is a non-established timeline. And what that means is we don't necessarily know how long it takes the Fellowship of the Ring to destroy the ring in the movies. They don't give us it's been 6 months, it's been this many weeks. All we get is time is passing. And I don't think they're going to give us any indicator of when this takes place right away, specifically within scenes. They can probably set us within it is a time of Middle Earth and the Third Age, and people are talking and doing all of their, setting up the story bits. But I don't necessarily know if that's the best way to do it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different thoughts on how they craft this movie. There was certainly a lot on the War of the Rohirrim, but I'm glad they're focusing on Gollum rather than trying to recapture the magic of Fellowship of the Ring. Fellowship of the Ring had its time, and I really, really like the Fellowship of the Ring for what it is. But y'all, we gotta move on. There's gotta be more movies made. There's gotta be more stories to be told. Not everything needs to be, and again, I'm glad they're bringing Peter Jackson and Andy Serkis back. I think it is, to an extent, a good idea. But I want to see other stories in the Lord of the Rings universe told. And I think this is a decent way to get started. I think if this movie does well, fingers crossed, we can get any number of Lord of the Rings movies told later down the line. This feels like a kind of... Sorry, I dropped my fidget. This feels like a litmus test to sort of decide whether or not to continue with Lord of the Rings movies. And, we had the War of the Rohirrim. That was a very different approach to the movies. Do I think the Nazgul will make an appearance in it? Yes. At least I hope they do. So the Nazgul cross the river. So we have the potential, and the Nazgul are like easy. Did they not? Their Nazgul are easy to sort of shoehorn in because they don't need anybody casting. Did they not learn their lesson with Gollum the game? So Jacob, this is an entirely different team. The people that made the Gollum game are not the ones making this movie. I don't even think there was going to be any involvement from the people that made the movie in that. But what this all started off with, no joke, I think what this all started off with was Rings of Power showing everybody, really, whether you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation or not, that the Lord of the Rings fandom is still alive and well. And I'm very fortunate that that we are able to sort of be in this renaissance of the Lord of the Rings, because we don't always get that, right? Fandoms don't always get a revival of sorts. I mean, Star Wars, look at what Star Wars has done with things like Andor. No, see, I like Rings of Power. Rings of Power does what a lot of people said couldn't be done, which is film the second age. And they're trying their best. I blame the Tolkien estate. Honestly, they should have given them the Silmarillion. They should have gone after the rights for the Silmarillion, and the fact that they didn't makes me very upset. I quite like the Rings of Power. I think they're doing a decent job at it. Not keen on this movie. Angmar would be better. Craig, there's no chance that the Tolkien estate sells the Silmarillion. It's, for whatever reason, that is the be-all and end-all of filmmaking, and I don't think they give it up. I think it's going to cost $1 billion. I think if anyone were to ever buy the Silmarillion rights to make movies, I think that it's $1 billion, because within the Silmarillion are at least a dozen movies that I can think of off the top of my head, right? You've got the entirety of the Second Age. You've got the entirety of the Third Age. Keep in mind, if you buy the rights to the Silmarillion, you could theoretically tell the tale of the Third Age at any point. Because it's everything. It's like reading the Bible. It's like getting the rights to every story in the Bible, right? If the Bible wasn't... Pose, thank you so much for being here. Are we accidentally using... Oh my gosh. I just realized I have not been using the right microphone for this. Chat, I am so sorry. If you are over on YouTube or if you are over on Twitch, my audio has been absolutely garbage. It's better now. I'm going to get my microphone in on this because this is a big deal. They won't actually do that. That's the thing. Can I elaborate on the plot? Very new to all of this. Pawn, what we're learning from the article is the hunt for Gollum is, quote, quite an intense story that falls after the birthday party of Bilbo and before the Mines of Moria. It is a specific chunk of incredible untold story told through the perspective of this incredible creature. So what I think is going to happen is we're going to get a Gollum movie, which is not what I thought we were going to get. I thought this was going to be a very... Also, by the way, I am so sorry about the the audio on Twitch and YouTube. I think we are going to get a Gollum movie that is very similar to the Gollum game, but, told in a little bit of a much more theatrical way. By the way, I do have to go in the next half hour, so I will be wrapping up there. I have another I have another meeting. Also, I'm going to just jump in here real quick and just say thank you to all of you that are here. My name is Don Marshall. If you are interested in the Lord of the Rings, or you like the Lord of the Rings, please feel free to drop a follow. I like talking about the Lord of the Rings quite a lot, and this is one of the ways I get to do it. Here on TikTok here, or my camera, Twitch and YouTube there, or Patreon over there. I'm talking to 3 different cameras right now. But thank you all for being here. And if you like my content, if you want to see me continue to do this, one of the ways that I pay my rent is through Patreon. Patreon has a free option. And if you are interested in helping support me, Patreon is the best way to do it. We have a $2 tier. You can pay $2 a month, or it's a pay what you can. So if you join at any tier, $2, $5, $11, or $20, you all get the same thing. I'm a communist that way. If you're looking for a safe space for queer people, if you're looking for a safe space for neurodivergent people, if you want to talk about Lord of the Rings, if you want to have a Lord of the Rings movie marathon, please feel free to come join me. We're having a Lord of the Rings movie marathon. It's going to be starting in June. I'm going to be making announcements over the course of the next few weeks. And I just want to say thank you to anybody that has joined us over on the Patreon. My Patreon folks are currently in the live stream. You wore one of my Pride shirts. Thank you. Appreciate that. But thank you.
calendar reveal Zoom on Sunday. I can't do it on Sunday, but I can do it sometime over the course of the next week. If you are around during the day, one evening. No Fall of Gondolin movie. Not yet. No, the Fall of Gondolin movie would need to be getting the rights to the Silmarillion, and they do not have that. But Maisie, I will text you. By the way, Maisie Matilda is in chat, by the way. Where else are you going to get this kind of Lord of the Rings content? If you don't know Maisie Matilda, she's the woman that paints the foredges on books. She is currently, or has wrapped up, drawing or painting 12 different pieces for my new Lord of the Rings calendar, which if you haven't heard about yet, I make a Lord of the Rings calendar for the On This Day in Middle-earth calendars. It's what happens in the Lord of the Rings specific dates within those calendars, or within those specific days within the Lord of the Rings day. We have an American Pope? What? The Pope is from Chicago? Oh my God. Is there a Rings of Power Season 3 update? Zavin, the last I heard, there was going to be the latest rumor was that they were going to start filming over the course of the next few days. That's so wild to have an American Pope. Oh boy. I'm sure that's going to go over well. Excuse me, I'm choking on my drink. Please hold. And we're back. So sorry about that. Thank you for sticking with me. So y'all, if you are new here, welcome to the stream. If you have questions about the new movie, The Hunt for Gollum, please let me know. I am very curious to get your thoughts on all of this. I was originally pitching this as sort of like they will probably do a young Aragorn kind of story. But for right now, it kind of sounds like we're getting something that takes place from the perspective of Gollum, which is an interesting thought. And I don't necessarily know if that's the best idea for them, but I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. Very curious to see what we're going to do. That's going to be a lot. Yeah, I will try my best not to lose my marbles. Andy Serkis lead? Yes, Andy Serkis lead. I think this is going to be a very character specific movie. I think we're going to have, oh God, I really hope they do it this way. If we are going to have an Andy Serkis themed movie, give me an Andy Serkis themed movie. Let me have all of the cameos. Let me see Aragorn in the distance. Let me see Lee Pace as Thranduil in the distance, right? Because we can have any number of cameos if they're just going to be there for a scene and have Gollum sort of be our through line with this story, which is going to be insane, but in a good way, right? I'm really hoping it can be in a good way. Just finished up a huge meeting you had to host. Hey, Cassandra, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for hanging out over on Patreon. I've been hyping up the Patreon over the course of the last hour, and let me tell you, it's great that you guys are over there. I really appreciate you hanging out, so thank you for hanging over on Patreon. And we do get more Gollum lore. Ivy, hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Alexander says, I always wanted to learn more about Gollum, and you're so excited. And you know what? I hope we get a little bit more of the Gollum backstory, because they did it a little bit in the Return of the King movie, but I don't necessarily know if we're going to get more. It could be flashbacks, and it's very easy to like have Andy Serkis be in there. But we'll see how they do this. I'm very curious. Hey, Eddie, don't even worry about it. I kind of figured things happened. Things get put on shelves. You let me know if you need me at any point. Let me know if you need me. You had a lot of feelings about Gollum. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about Gollum. No joke. One of my very, very dear friends really relates to Gollum, especially in the sort of idea of being an addict. Gollum is quite literally addicted to the ring. And I think you could have a really poignant story told from the perspective of Gollum, who is battling depression, who is battling addiction, who is going through the motions of like just becoming this person that he doesn't even recognize. And I think there's a story there. Whether or not it is going to be the story that audiences resonate with, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for them to do it. But if Peter Jackson knows what he's doing, and I think he does, and if Warner Brothers leaves him alone, I think they can do it. So, Edward just asked a question. Sorry, I just joined. Is it live animation or live action? I think it is going to be live action. That is the sense that I am getting, especially because Andy Serkis is coming back to the stream. If Andy Serkis decides that this is, well, it's probably not up to him. It's probably up to Warner Brothers. But no, I don't think they're going to go with a animated movie. They had one last year. Does the ring... Oh, Eddie asked the question. Does the ring give you extra powers or just make you the strongest version of yourself? So if your mind is strong enough, the ring will make you the most powerful version of yourself, essentially. But it only answers to Sauron. What it does is it tempts people that aren't Sauron. Sauron is the ring is Sauron. So it's not going to answer to anybody else. What it's going to do is it's going to take the power that it has, that is Sauron's power, and corrupt somebody enough so that it will eventually get back to Gollum. It's not worrying about a timeline, right? Gollum had the ring for almost 500 years. Bilbo had it for a couple decades. So what it's going to do is whoever gets the ring gets to be the best version of themselves, but only in their mind. And eventually they will wither away and be corrupted and fall to the power of the ring. Will I be in London next year for the Royal Concert Hall Lord of the Rings Marathon? I wish, but probably not. Unless someone invites me, I don't know. By the way, have I done my Gollum impression? Maybe I should just do the rest of the stream in my Gollum impression.
Hello, everybody. As you can see, they're making a movie about me. I'm very excited. Now, Precious, what's this movie going to be about? Well, it's going to be a little different. According to Philippa Boyens in the Variety article, we're going to see a lot of me. A lot of us. Yes, of course. Lot of us.
I can't keep that up. I was sick as is, but you know what? That's okay. We're fine. Also, I do have to go in a few minutes, but I also haven't had 100 viewers on my live in quite a while. So here's what I'm going to do. Y'all, thank you for joining. I am going to wrap up over the course of the next few minutes, winding down. Please feel free to still leave your comments in chat. But as we wind down, I'm going to do one more article read. I'm going to do a little bit more to just get the information out there. So this is going to be a video over on my stream. So 3, 2, 1. So you want more news about the hunt for Gollum? Here's what it said in the Variety article. Gollum will officially return to the big screen for Christmas 2027. Warner Brothers has announced that Andy Serkis's The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum will open in theaters December 17th, 2027. The release date for The Hunt for Gollum is hardly a surprise, given all 6 movies in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit film trilogies opened in December ahead of the Christmas holiday. I think this is a very smart idea. Each trilogy powered to $2.9 billion at the box office worldwide. Warner Brothers first announced The Hunt for Gollum last summer and said it would be ready for theaters in 2026. Obviously, the film has been delayed. Original Lord of the Rings trilogy filmmaker Peter Jackson and his partner Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the new movie. Warner Brothers stressed that Warner Brothers stressed when announcing Gollum that the trio will be involved every step of the way. Boyens told Empire magazine the hunt for Gollum is quite an intense story and falls after the birthday party of Bilbo and before the Mines of Moria. It's a specific chunk of incredible untold story told through the perspective of this incredible creature. Original Rings cast members like Ian McKellen, Orlando Bloom, and Viggo Mortensen have all expressed interest in returning for the new film should the story make sense for their characters to appear, although no additional casting has been confirmed. Y'all, we're getting a new Lord of the Rings movie, and it might have some gratuitous cameos in it, but we're getting a story told through the perspective of Gollum. This is very exciting. We've got new Lord of the Rings movies. We've got untold stories that haven't hit screens yet. And look, as much as The Lord of the Rings has gone through a sort of renaissance in popularity over the last few years, there's been a lot of negativity surrounding that. And I hope that we can continue to make this community be a source of warmth and welcome and, make sure that people are enjoying these sorts of movies. Let's have a Rogue One style story. Let's have an Andor style story. Or let's have a story told entirely through the perspective of Gollum. Honestly, I'm not terribly worried about it. Let's just enjoy the Lord of the Rings community for what it is right now. I am reserving all judgment for this movie until I watch it. Will I be a little bit more hype once I see some images coming out of it? Once I hear some castings? Yeah, I think I will be. But until then, let's reserve judgment. Let's get a little bit excited. Let's be a Lord of the Rings community. Finally, and this is the last thing I am going to say before I wrap up here today. Thank you to all of you that have been joining me over the course of the last 4.5 years making content. My name is Don Marshall. I go by the Obscure Lord of the Rings Facts guy. If you follow me here on TikTok, here for this camera, Twitch and YouTube for this camera, or Patreon for that camera, thank you all so much for being here. That being said, one of the reasons I am able to keep doing what I am doing is because of the people that support me over on Patreon. So if you have $2 a month or $21 a year, or if you can't and you create an account and join for free, please go do so. The Patreon is one of the ways that I am able to do this kind of content that I am able to do. It's the reason I'm able to pay my rent and pay my bills is through Patreon, and I am very grateful for all of you that have joined me there. One of the reasons I'm able to hop on a live in the middle of the day and do this sort of thing is because of the Patreon, and I just want to thank everybody that has already joined the Patreon and those that will join. If you're interested in doing so, please do so at the link in my bio. It is patreon.com/DonMarshall72. I am leaving out the best part, which is over the course of the next 6 months, we are having an entire Lord of the Rings movie marathon. If you are interested in watching the Lord of the Rings with me and potentially some special guests, you can join us over on Patreon, where we have a Lord of the Rings community that is just next level, and I'm incredibly grateful for anybody over there. The Patreon is the first link in my bio, and I hope you all join me there. Y'all, I am going to wrap up because I do have to run to my next meeting, which is going to be at 2:30 Eastern time, just about 15-20 minutes from now. But again, thank you all for joining me for this really awesome live stream. Go check out my most recent movie. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about The Hunt for Gollum later on in the day, and maybe we have another live stream this evening. Who knows? But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for being here. Patrons, I'm looking at you directly. Joe, William, Amanda, McMullen, thank you for joining. Katie, Cassandra, Sarah, Beorwin, William, Elise, Robin, thank you all so much for being here. It is great to see all of you here. For those of you that want shout outs and want to join this much smaller but very, very impactful community over on Patreon, please do so. It means a world of difference. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the love and support. If you haven't already as well, please go check out my most recent video. It's where I just announced the Gollum movie announcement, and it would mean the world if I could be the one to break that news to a lot of people. I pride myself as a former journalist being the one to be able to tell people more about the Lord of the Rings movies. So I'm going to wrap up here. It sucks that I have to leave with over 100 of you here in chat across all of my platforms, but I do have to go to my next meeting. But thank you. Seriously, this means the world to me, and I'm very grateful I was able to tell some of you that we have a release date for this movie, because The Lord of the Rings means a lot to me. If I could do nothing more than talk about The Lord of the Rings for the rest of my life, I would do it. I would probably want to change it up a little bit more, but truly, this is my safe space. This is my comfort zone, and I hope it is for one of you, and I am grateful for all of you to have been able to share in that with me over the course of the last 4.5 years for all of this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please join the Patreon if you want to be part of the much more intimate part of the community, and we'll see how it goes for this new Lord of the Rings movie. Stay tuned over the course of the next 1.5 years as we continue to find more Lord of the Rings stories to tell. And here's hoping for many more. There's so many stories that Tolkien could have to bring to the big screen, and I hope I'm there for every single one of them. Thank you all so much for joining. I have been Don Marshall. A reminder, if you have it in you, I know financially it's not possible for everybody, but if you have the ability to support me and to continue to help me create the content that I do, join me over on Patreon, and I'll see you all next time. We're going to wrap up first on Patreon. Thank you so much. I'll close this camera out now. Farewell, number one. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to wrap up here over on Twitch and YouTube. Y'all, thank you for being here. Thank you for dropping by. A reminder that my book comes out in a few weeks, or excuse me, months. Few months. A reminder that my book comes out in a few months. So thank you all for hanging out. It has been an absolute pleasure live streaming to all of you, and I'll see you all next time.